This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points is sponsored by Community Coffee, strong as our roots, by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your Houston area Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas, and by Emoji, the official business bank of the Houston Texans.
On the road again, the Houston Texans are traveling. This is Texans Extra Points. I'm your host, Drew Dougherty. And look at who we got here. A couple of road dogs in ND Kalu, longtime NFL defensive lineman. And you are John Harris, radio sideline reporter, Team Harris, team analyst. You're Team Harris all the time. But
Team Harris all the time.
Guys, how much fun is this? Texans going to hit the road. They're 7-5 in December.
You know what? When you're playing for something and you're still in it, you're still in the hunt late in the season, you got to love that.
Yeah, it's been some time.
Yeah, it has been. How about a year ago at this time, we were having Extra Points talking about what the future was going to be. Like long-term future, not, hey, we're in a playoff hunt.
We'll think about the draft in the long term a long, long way from now. But right now, we got to do quick hits and set you up with what we have coming on the show, because later we've got keys to a Texans victory over the Jets. Plus, we have Texans to watch up there in East Rutherford, New Jersey, when they take on those Jets of New York. And we have a telestrator, not a translator, but a telestrator, and John Harris does that. He breaks down the X's and O's of what happened rushing coverage-wise on a Will Anderson sack. And I get to go one-on-one with George Fent. He started at right tackle all season long, and he's doing a really nice job. But let's start with the offense. Let's chit-chat about the quarterback. Over-under, we love doing these. Touchdown passes, 1.5 in this game for C.J. Stroud. Very good defense he's facing. You think he goes over? You think he goes under? We'll start with you, ND.
You know, I'm going to say over. I typically like to go under just when you look at the numbers, when you look at the stats, and he's still a rookie. But the way he's been playing, they're going against a team that's lost five in a row. I'm going to say over 1.5.
You've got the over.
Boy, I feel like Scrooge McDuck over here. I'm going to go under. I just think this is going to be a game in which points are at a premium. I don't think either team is really going to score a lot of points. I'll take one touchdown.
Okay.
Because I do feel like maybe there'll be a rushing touchdown as well. The Jets are exceptional against the pass. Against the run, not so much. So I'm going to go with one C.J. Stroud touchdown through the air, maybe one rushing as well, but then let's throw in a running back touchdown as well. That'll be enough to beat the Jets.
All right, so Andy Kalu officially supports C.J. Stroud, and John Harris is a hater. John, we'll stick with you. How does, this is serious, I don't mean to laugh, how does losing Tank Dell affect this offense, and what's next?
We're about to find out. I mean, that's, when you're in a game and it happens, you just get yourself through the game. You, like, what do we got to do? What are we going to do? We're going to put Mechie over here. We're going to put Robert Woods out at X. We're going to put him at Z. We're going to move this. In the game, you just figure it out. But now that you've got some time, it's going to be interesting. How do they fill that void? Does Xavier Hutchinson become part of the offense again after being inactive last week? What are you going to do with Mechie? How do you move Robert Woods around? Is he the guy that continues to move? And if you do get Dalton Schultz back, does Dalton kind of fill in some of those holes? You're not going to be able probably to hit all those deep balls and really stretch unless it's Nico Collins.
Yeah, and you're not going to replace the Tank Dell. He's a singular talent. He's a different talent. You know, kind of along those lines, what do you see changing offensively with his absence?
Well, you lose the big playability. This is a guy that averaged over 15 yards a catch. He led the team in touchdown receptions. You're not going to replace that with one person. Similar to what John is saying, you just have to get creative, and you have to use a mix of 4 or 5 pass receivers. Even if it's Devin Singletary catching out of the backfield, you have to use multiple guys to try to replace that production that you got out of Tank Dell.
You know, on Wednesday we saw tight end Dalton Schultz, who you just mentioned, practice. That's a good thing. Whether or not he plays, should we still be seeing more of Brevin Jordan perhaps? That kind of goes in line with what we're talking about filling in with Dell being out as far as options.
That's why the answer is yes, because you have Tank Dell out, so you need all the options. And Brevin Jordan getting 64 yards receiving, I think that was a nice little introduction game to saying, hey, I'm still here. I'm still proving why I was taken in the 5th round when I was. So, no, you still need to see Brevin because you're losing such a talent in Tank Dell.
John, what's got to change in the run game?
Boy, that's a loaded question to give me like just one show to be able to do it. I mean, I think there's a number of things that haven't been right. You know, when the blocking's been right, sometimes the running back reads have been off. Sometimes when the reads have been right, the blocking hasn't been as good. And this is going to be a tough one going against Quinnen Williams up front. I think the biggest thing is they've got to control the down guys. They've got to control the guys down and then work up to the linebacker level. But when they do work up to linebacker level, they've got to occupy those guys and make sure they're staying on those blocks. They can't just hit and release. That's how Singleton got a number of tackles last week. So they got to get up to linebacker level against C.J. Mosley and Quincy Williams and then occupy those guys, which is not going to be easy. But you got to control the down guys. If you control the down guys, you got a chance.
Yeah, and one of the guys who's going to be in charge of that and helping in that is George Fant, right tackle. He's been fantastic this season out on the edge. Real surprise, because this time a year ago, he was elsewhere. But he's taken on a team where he used to play in the New York Jets. I got a chance to go one-on-one with him. Here is some of that conversation with George. Right tackle George Fant joins us now. This has been an interesting season. You come here, you start every game at right tackle. How much fun are you having this season?
Man, definitely having the most fun of my career, honestly, man. I think I'm at a point in my career, in my life that I could just kind of relax and just play ball, being an undrafted player, I've always had a lot of stress and, just want to make sure I do everything completely right. And I think I'm at this point now where it's like, all right, we got a good quarterback, we got a nice, really good room, an offensive line room. So I'm just enjoying myself every game, every day of practice. So definitely having probably the most fun of my career.
Your quarterback, C.J. Stroud's done a lot of things right this season, but as somebody who's seen a lot of quarterback play, what's the thing that he does right that impresses you the most?
I think it's pocket presence.
Yeah.
It's very, very impressive, man. I think earlier too is when I was like, okay, like this is different. I've played with rookie quarterbacks, and I don't feel that same way as far as knowing where the quarterback is going to be, and not really worrying about him, swaying to the right, swaying to the left. His ability to step up in the pocket strong, even when the pocket's kind of muddy. Those things right there are very, very unique to have for any quarterback, So I would probably say that's probably the most impressive part for me, outside of him making some really crazy throws. But his pocket presence is really nice.
Right tackle George Fant. Sal, thank you so much for the time. Best of luck against the Jets.
Thanks for having me.
Arian Foster, the lone back, gets the call, running to the left side, across the 10, the 5, going for the pylon. He's in easily. Arian Foster, a 13-yard touchdown run.
All right, we're back here on Texans Extra Points. Arian Foster with a touchdown run back in 2012 when these two teams locked up, the Jets and the Texans. Drew, ND, John, let's talk a little bit about this defense. Derek Stingley on a roll, 4 picks last 3 games. He's the reigning AFC Defensive Player of the Week with his 2-interception performance. So complete this sentence. Derek Stingley Jr. is
developing exactly the way we wanted a number 3 overall pick to do in 2022. His interception, the second interception. Now, both of them are incredible ball skill plays. Like, the ball is tipped by Willie Anderson. So if you're DB and you're making a break, you're like, the ball's going to be here, and all of a sudden it's back here. ND, DBs are DBs for a reason, because they don't have hands. Derek Stingley's got great ball skills and great hands, so he makes that catch. But the catch he makes going over Cortland Sutton, the range that he covers, he's developing exactly the way we wanted. He just needed games, and that goes back to his health and being healthy. When 2-4 is healthy, I'll take him all day long.
To you, Derek Stingley is
showing that he's going to be the best cornerback in the AFC South. And you're starting to see, just like John said, when he's healthy, you'll take him all day, every day. But not only is he getting himself in position to make the plays, he's making it. Just like he talked about, most DBs, a pass broken up, they're happy with that. He's making the interception. He's making the spectacular catches that wide receivers see and be like, wow, that was a nice catch. So he is on his way to becoming the best cornerback in the AFC.
Yeah, he played last week, started last week, and it was the first time all season long that the 4 guys that we presumed would be the 2 corners and the 2 safeties, and Jimmy Ward, Jalen Petrie, and then Steven Nelson and Stingley, they all started together for the first time. So with that Jimmy Ward return, he gets a pick to seal the game. But how important was he overall to what we saw, and how important is he to this defense? He's a captain.
This guy's a seasoned vet. This is a guy that the younger guys look up to. And not only is he a seasoned vet, not only is he a great guy to have in the locker room, he gets it done on the field. He's not just, they didn't bring him here just to be a great locker room guy. And there's a lot of value to that. But he's also one of the best players when he's out there. And he showed it when he returned from the injury with that last play.
All right, John, let's play a game. Who gets a sack first or next, let's say, for the Houston Texans? Will Anderson Jr., Jonathan Grenard, or the field, meaning anybody else on the defense?
When you asked that question, my first thought was Jalen Petrie.
Oh, yeah?
Now, don't ask why that popped into my head.
Well, safety blitz, I like
feel
it.
like safety blitz, I feel like there are going to be some things the Texans are going to have to do to kind of shake up Zach Wilson, to show him a different picture. And one of the things you can do is send 5, send 6, loop, twist, do some different things. I'll tell you what, the Jaguars threw some stuff at us that was really cool that got Josh Allen to the quarterback. Hey, we can do some of that against Zach Wilson. But I think I'm going to go with the field because Jalen Petrie is the guy that stood out to me that, all right, a blitz. I think that might be the way to get to Zach Wilson. So I'm going to go the field on that one.
All right, what's your choice of the 3?
You know what? I want to go with the field as well because when you look at the Jets, they've given up over 14 sacks in the last 3 games. So they're really going to be focused on Jonathan Grenard and Will Anderson. And that's when Sheldon Rankins or somebody from the inside, they take advantage of that one-on-one block and they get the sack.
Where's this defense headed as a whole in your mind?
Oh, to greatness. I mean, just like you mentioned, we finally saw the 4 starters, presumed starters, playing together, and we saw the result of that. When you look at the Jets, they're struggling on offense. I'm expecting a huge game from this defense.
And we're going to get into that in just a moment, but we got to get your telestrator about a Will Anderson sack. But it's not just Will Anderson because, as you'll see, Russian coverage, it's that nice marriage of things that happened for the Texans on Sunday. Enjoy this one, the X's and O's, the telestrator with John Harris.
I've used the phrase rush and coverage working together. Coach Ryans has used that as well. What does that mean? What does it mean for rush and coverage to work together? I'm glad you asked. Let's go to the telestrator, presented by BMW, and I'll show you exactly what we're talking about here. Now, Broncos are going to start out with 2x2 and 11 personnel. So 1 back. I believe that's tight end crawl right there. Now, he could be a receiver, so it depends on how you want to classify this, but it's 11 personnel. Now, Sutton's going to go over to this side, and he's going to create a 3x1 over here. Now, a lot of defenses have 3x1 checks, okay? So once you get in a 3x1, then there might be some things that you're going to do against that 3x1. So one of them might entail you're going to have Sting basically stay man-to-man on Kroll, okay? So you can see Sting give some sort of signal right there. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but he's telling these guys, hey, I got something going on over here. You guys got the 3 receiver side. You guys take care of it. So let's watch these routes because they get matched really well. And it looks like the Texans they're in some sort of quarters match, okay, because they're going to match the routes. Now, Sting's just going to stay on this route, okay? A lot of times on the backside of a route, you're just going to stay man-to-man. And these 3 are going to match up. So watch right about here. Where's Russell going to throw this ball? In there, okay? Nothing really there. You got 2 that are going to bracket that, and you got Sting right there, okay? Now, he's got his check down. Okay? Could take that, but he doesn't have his eyes there. Part of the reason he doesn't have his eyes there is look at his rush, okay? So great job in the back end. So let's look at the rush here, okay? The guy who gets the sack here is Will Anderson. Watch the power rush. He's going to explode into McGlinchey, okay? McGlinchey stands up, gets the play. All right, we're all ready. And now watch the power right there. The power that he is bringing right there. Look at how far he displaces McGlinchey. I mean, he moves him. Look at how far it's from there to there and keeps moving him back. But at the same time, Derek Barnett's doing the same thing. So you got these 2 inside not losing their rush lanes, Sheldon and Malik. And then you got Barnett doing a good job closing it down. So when Russell can't find anything down the field like we talked about, watch the rush envelop him. Watch the rush just keep closing in. Where am I going to go? Look at his eyes. His eyes went from being downfield to, ooh, man, I got to check this out, right? So what's he going to do? He's going to try and escape? Go get him, Will. And Will Anderson's going to get the sack. Because the coverage is great and the rush is smart and they went together like peanut butter and jelly, you get sacks, you get pressures, you get takeaways. This time it was a sack for Will Anderson Jr., but as you can see, that's a team thing. Yeah, Will gets the stat, but everybody contributed on that play with the coverage and the rush.
I formation, Schaub bootlegs out to the left side. Has time, throws deep downfield, wide open. Owen Daniels, rock and roll, touchdown Houston. The Texans strike. A TD pass to Owen Daniels from Matt Schaub, good for 34 yards.
Anytime we can show an Owen Daniels highlight on this show, we're going to do that. Owen Daniels had a touchdown in that game. He had a big 2012 for the Houston Texans. I'm Drew Dougherty. That's ND Kalu and John Harris. We're talking about this matchup. Let's get into the matchup. On Wednesday, Zach Wilson was named the starter at quarterback for the New York Jets, but does that really matter to the Texans? Let's hear it from you.
Yes and no. First of all, there's all this hubbub about Zach and did he want to be the starter again and all that. Heat him up, baby.
Yeah.
Heat him up and see whether he wants to be back there. But the one thing you have to do is once you get back there, you got to finish him. You can't let him turn this into playground football because the only way Zach Wilson can beat you on Sunday is if he turns into playground football and he's rolling out left and he fires it back right and you're not, clamping receivers in the back end like you should when he starts to move and all of a sudden he's got a 50-yard throw to Garrett Wilson and you're down 7-0 and you have no business being down 7-0. Now you're trudging uphill against that defense. So you got to keep Zach Wilson in the pocket, but man, heat that dude up and finish him. He doesn't want to be out there. Finish him.
What do you think about it all?
Just what he said, you got to put pressure on him early. And this is what I want to see out of Zach Wilson. I want by the second quarter, he takes off his helmet and he says, I'm going home. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this because Will Anderson, Jonathan Grenard, they're all over me. If he wasn't sure about wanting to play in the game, by the second quarter, he needs to be tapping out.
Yeah. Okay, you're a professional defensive player in the NFL. You have, I'm sure, a nice, deep appreciation for this Jets defense. On the nasty scale, what word would you use to describe how nasty these guys are?
Can you say porn on here?
Whoa, hey, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's that nasty. Yeah, it's nasty that you have to cover the eyes of the kids.
Adult
Because, yeah, Quentin Williams, his brother. I mean, they have some guys on that defense that I don't even like watching. I tell my wife and kids, hey, go in the other room when this is over. If you have an appreciation for defense, despite their record, despite the fact that they're not going to the playoffs, if you love defensive football, and I know John's going to back me up on this, you're going to love watching the New York Jets.
What's your word to use?
I can't say it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. But if you did it on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 12. Like Tuesday night, I went to bed. Like I was thinking about the Jets defense. Like, how are we going to move the ball in the Jets defense, especially if it rains, it's a little colder? How are we going to move the ball in these guys? And where they're not great is against the run because some of these guys want to get upfield. Quentin Williams, as great as he is, he wants to get upfield. But if you swap paint in a phone booth, boy, it's going to be ugly, and that's where your interior's got to be really, really good. So I'm not going to step to that level. I'm going to tell you, it's more than a 10 because they have me completely worried on that side of the ball.
He just brought up weather, so let me put my old weatherman cap on. I used to watch the guys do it before I did sports when I was back in Lubbock. There's a low-pressure system that's going to sit down over the New York tri-state area. We got some temps in the 50s and 60s. Should be okay at game time, but keep the pets indoors. Okay, Sauce Gardner.
I like it.
I can do it.
That was good.
Thoughts on Sauce? He can play.
Don't let the 0 interceptions fool you.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he has 0 interceptions because the quarterbacks, they look his way and they say, no, I'm going to go that way.
Yeah.
They don't test him. He's a proven cornerback. He's all pro already. As a rookie, I would say he was a top 5 cornerback in the entire NFL.
One thing that I think the Texans coaching staff needs to do is be in the ear of the officiating crew. Not overbearing, but just, hey, number one, he likes to clutch and grab. That's his game. Plant that seed.
Friendly reminders.
Yes. Just plant that friendly reminder like, hey, Sauce is pretty good, man, but he does like to clutch and grab a little bit, so let's make sure our guys are clean. But our receivers got to know that too.
Yeah.
So our receivers got to know this is a fight. If you've got him seemingly beat, he's going to get back in with some grab. You got to be very violent as a receiver, which sounds weird, but you're going to have to be when you go against Sauce Gardner.
Lots of hand kung fu on the way. All right, let's talk about those Texans to watch. Who's your guy on Sunday?
I think going with that thought, Nico Collins is going to be my guy because Nico's big, physical, strong. He's everything you want a receiver to be. Now he's facing a guy that can match him physically, at least get close to it. And that guy's going to hand fight with Nico all day. So Nico's got to win those battles and get free so that Stroud can hit him. It doesn't have to be 9 for 191. This might be a 7 for 63, but he's going to have some big third down catches against Sauce.
Okay, how about you?
All right, he went with the guy on the offensive side of the ball that had a breakout game. I'm going to go with the defensive side, and that's Will Anderson.
All right.
Will Anderson's been playing great this entire season, but he finally had that stat line that everybody's been looking for. Now, for him to become that great player, you have to do it consistently. You're playing against a team that hasn't been protecting their quarterback. He needs to have a big game. He's going to be the guy that I'm watching most closely.
Excellent choices, both of you. I'm going to go with a former Jet in Blake Cashman, who's been having a heck of a season. He was AFC Defensive Player of the Week back in Week 3. So give me Blake. Let's see what he does. And when we come back, we've got keys to a Texans victory over the Jets. Stick with us. This is Texans Extra Points.
Extra Points has been sponsored by Community Coffee, Strong as Our Roots, by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by Mattress Firm, the official sleep partner of the Houston Texans.
One final segment of Texans Extra Points on the way. My name's Drew Dougherty. That's John Harris. That's ND Kalu. Fellas, it's that time of the show where we get 2 keys to a Houston Texans victory over the New York Jets. We start with you, John Harris.
Number one, I'm going to steal our radio crew. We talk about this all the time. Every drive ends with a kick. Field goal, extra point, punt. Do not turn the ball over. Do not give them extra possessions. You cannot have that. And I said it earlier for my number 2. Zach Wilson, we'll see if you want to play. Heat him up. If your 4 guys can do it, great. If it takes 7 to do it, great. Challenge whether he wants to be in that pocket on that Sunday.
Good ones. Okay, how about you, ND?
Big plays early to get the crowd out of it. Think about it. As bad as this Jets team is, the people showing up, they must love their Jets and they want something to cheer for. So early on, you have to get those big plays, get them out of it. And on the defensive side of the ball, same thing. Whatever quarterback is under center or is in the shotgun, you have to make sure they stay uncomfortable for the entirety of the game.
Give me 2 picks and a fumble recovery, or 3 picks, but give me +3. And I think you can do it with what we've seen from this Jets offense, where they're headed lately, and all the shenanigans going on this week. So win that turnover differential battle, +3, and then give me something on the ground. It's going to be tough against this team, but give me something on the ground to balance out the explosives and make them stay a little bit more honest than they usually have to stay, those New York Jets. John, ND, always good to be with you. We appreciate it. This was a fun one, man. We mixed it up. We had a good time. We hope you had as much fun as we did making this show and putting it all together. All right, we'll see you next week when the Texans hit the road to take on the Tennessee Titans. But until then, got to beat the Mean Green up in New York. Go Texans.